Hi everyone, I've been doing latte art at home for a few years now, and while I may not be at competition grade latte art yet, I have learned a lot about why my early attempts at beautiful latte art failed. So here are some of my tips on how to go from blocky, uninteresting looking designs to beautiful tulips, swans, and more advanced latte art. So the first and biggest problem I see with home baristas doing latte art is they introduce way too much air when steaming the milk. It can be really hard to judge how much air to put into your milk, and I suspect that people like that hissing sound just a little bit too much and put way too much air into their milk, when they really should be doing a lot less. A key part to doing this right is understanding how powerful your machine is. It can be a lot harder to get really good latte art on home machines for exactly this reason. Home machines tend to have way less power than commercial machines, so it's really hard to get a great latte art foam. At first I struggled with that on this single boiler Rancherillo Silvia that I've been using, but that doesn't mean that you can't compensate for the lower power and get a really good latte art foam. For the Silvia, I have a few things that I do every single time to get as consistent a result as possible, and that starts with venting water before I steam milk. You really want the steam to be as dry as it can possibly be, so venting some of that water from the steam pipes before you start is essential. If I don't vent the water out of the boiler before I start steaming, I'm going to end up with 20 to 30 grams more water in that milk, which is definitely going to have a knock-on effect on my latte art pours. I also have a PID on my Silvia, and I use this to time my steaming along with the most power I can get from it. Since the steam boiler cuts off at about 135 degrees C, I start steaming at 132, which will keep the boiler engaged the entire time I'm steaming. If I wait until the boiler shuts off, then the power will drop halfway through my steaming, resulting in way less incorporated milk. So make sure you understand your machine and get the timings right so that you can get the most consistent steam possible. The second biggest problem I see is that people start pouring their latte art either too early or too late, and usually it's too late. Depending on the design, I try to start pouring my latte art when the cup is 30 to 40% full. If you start pouring your designs too early, it will have really low surface tension and you'll end up with large, blaring, and unappealing designs. If you start too late, then your designs will look really small and you'll struggle to get interesting detail. But if you start at the right time, then you'll get large enough designs that look interesting and you'll have plenty of time at the end to add flair. It can be precarious sometimes, and I have had designs pour over the edge just at the last point, but try to use as much of the cup as you possibly can. Using that volume will help you get beautiful designs. So if you finish early, try adding a heart or another ripple towards the end. The third issue is using the wrong shaped cup that makes it hard for you to get close to the surface of the espresso. Now I used to use this very nice Kinto mug, but I found it really hard to pour close to the surface of the espresso when this mug is taller than it is wide. It's also the wrong volume for a latte and ends up with a much stronger drink because it can only fit about 6 ounces. In most of my videos recently, I've been using this Loveramics cup. This is called the Egg, and it was the World Latte Art Championship cup. I also recently got sent these not neutral cups, which have a fantastic hold and a really wide brim, so you can make beautiful latte art designs. Now, this isn't to say that you can't do beautiful latte art in a non-traditional shaped cup. I've even poured beautiful latte art into a wooden cup that I got during Oshogatsu, or New Year's, here in Japan. However, it definitely will be harder to pour a beautiful latte art design in a non-traditional shaped cup, so I recommend getting a wide brimmed cup to start with. I'm definitely going to do a video in the future on my favorite professional latte art cups, but when I started off I used the IKEA Vardigan, which was a really great, simple one to start off with. The fourth problem I'm going to talk about in this video is getting the vortex right. I talked about this in my video on steaming milk, and I see so many baristas mistaking a swirl for the roll. Now the roll involves up and down motion with the milk, which helps the heavy layers at the bottom incorporate with the airy foamy layers at the top. Unfortunately, what I see a lot of the time is a swirl where the milk is rotating rather than rolling up and down, which will result in a thick, aerated, foamy milk layer at the top and heavy milk at the bottom, which will really impact your designs. You'll end up with thin and wispy looking milk at the start and then just blotchy foam at the end, which will ruin any good designs you do. Make sure you're doing a vortex, which is rolling up and down and rotating, and that way you'll get much better milk incorporated so you can do beautiful latte art designs. So those are the biggest factors I see home baristas messing up when they're trying to do latte art, especially on home machines. Is there anything that's helped you improve your latte art that I didn't mention in my list? Tell me your secrets in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. A hard time, and you'll struggle, and small blah 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 blah. Very interesting, and you'll be blah 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 blah. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze any second. I don't know if it's like hay fever or something. Depending on the design, I try to start pouring my. Let's try that again.